You know, we often think of empathy and creativity as totally separate things, right? Well, what if I told you they're actually two sides of the same coin? Today, we're going to dig into how mashing them together unlocks a real honest-to-goodness superpower.
Let's kick things off with a question that, well, it kind of flips everything on its head. What if empathy, that thing we call a soft skill, is actually the secret engine driving all great innovation? I know. It sounds a little out there, but stick with me because this idea is a game changer.
So our first big idea here is what we're calling the secret synergy. And there's a reason for that name. It's because when you put empathy and creativity together, it's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It's more like 1 × 1 = 100. It's a multiplier effect.
But what does that mean, really? Well, think of it like this. This synergy is the power to take what you understand about other people, their feelings, their needs, what they're struggling with, and turn it into pure rocket fuel. Fuel for ideas that don't just tweak things, but completely change the game. It's like a form of alchemy, really, creating something new and powerful out of raw human understanding.
Okay, so how does this actually work in the real world? It's a process. First, you use empathy to dig deep into a problem. I mean, way past the surface level stuff. Then it helps you imagine totally different ways of seeing the world, like you're literally stepping into someone else's shoes. And doing that, it sharpens your creative intuition, that gut feeling or sixth sense that leads to breakthroughs. And finally, all of this builds a foundation of trust, a space where those big, bold, maybe even crazy ideas can actually take root and grow.
All right, let's get personal for a second and talk about the human engine behind all this. Because our life experiences, where we come from, what we've been through, all of that can act as either a supercharger or a serious brake on this creative engine.
And this brings us to a really interesting paradox. On the one hand, if you've faced real adversity, if you've been marginalized, you often have this incredibly deep, first-hand empathy for certain problems. You get it. And that understanding of unmet needs, that becomes a powerful, powerful driver for invention. But on the flip side, a life of comfort and conformity can sometimes act like a brake. You might be insulated from the very problems that ignite that creative fire.
I mean, just look at someone like Frida Kahlo. She took her physical pain, her feeling of being an outsider, and she transformed it into art that speaks to the entire world. Her work is basically a masterclass in channeling personal struggle into something universally understood and deeply felt.
Or how about Garrett Morgan? He was an African-American inventor who created things like the gas mask and the first traffic signals. Why? Because his unique position in society gave him a front-row seat to crucial problems that the dominant culture was completely ignoring. His perspective, born directly from his experience, literally saved lives and changed the world.
But hang on, this doesn't mean that comfort or privilege automatically kills creativity. Not at all. The key is that you have to consciously work on your empathy. It's a choice. And this brings us to a super important point. Empathy is a muscle. It's not something you either have or you don't. No matter where you're starting from, you can train it, you can make it stronger.
Okay, moving on. Now we're going to dive into how this very human, very soft skill is starting to completely shake up some of the most technical, hardcore fields out there. We're talking science and, yep, even AI.
And this quote right here just nails it. There's this huge shift happening in science. People are realizing that to solve the really big problems, just having raw data isn't going to cut it anymore. You have to understand the human behind the problem. Empathy is going from a nice-to-have bonus to an absolute must-have.
And hey, this isn't just some vague feeling. We can actually measure it. Get this. One study showed that when students took empathy training classes, their creative output shot up by 78%. I mean, that is a staggering number. It's solid proof that when you invest in empathy, you are directly investing in innovation. So naturally, this leads to the next massive question, especially for tech. Can we actually program empathy into an AI? Can we teach a machine to genuinely understand and respond to human emotion? The answer, well, it's probably not what you're expecting. Brace yourselves for this one. A recent study compared the responses that patients got from real human doctors with responses from an AI chatbot. The results? Absolutely mind-blowing. Nearly 80% of the time, patients said the AI chatbot's response was more empathetic. Now, how is that even possible? Well, one idea is that the AI can just look at the language and craft the perfect response without any of the human baggage, like being tired or stressed or having unconscious biases. Whatever the reason, it's a finding that really forces us to think about what empathy even means in a world full of AI. All right, so we've talked theory, we've talked science, now let's talk money. Let's talk business. Because this whole empathy creativity thing isn't just some philosophical idea. It is a cold, hard economic asset.
And you can see it playing out everywhere. You know, when a product just gets you, or a marketing campaign actually connects on a human level, or when a healthcare service makes you feel seen, in every single one of those cases, that's empathy at work. And that ability to truly understand someone and build for them, that is a massive competitive advantage today.
And if you want to put a number on it, just look at healthcare. The market for solutions that are specifically driven by empathy and creativity, we're talking things like patient-centered design or better communication tools, that market is worth $1.5 billion. That's a huge number, and it's just one industry.
And that impact hits the bottom line directly. When companies build empathy right into their design process, guess what happens? They make stuff that people actually want and need. It's not just for feel-good PR, it is a powerful business strategy. We're talking about a potential revenue boost of up to 50%. The takeaway here is crystal clear. Empathy pays.
So, as we start to wrap this up, we've seen how this synergy works, where it comes from, and its impact on science and business. But now, let's bring it all back home. Let's talk about you and the power that this idea holds for every single one of us.
Look, if you remember only one thing from this whole discussion, make it this. We have got to stop calling empathy a soft skill. It's not. It's a power skill. It's an engine for growth, and it's absolutely essential fuel for the innovations that will shape our future.
So let's do a super quick recap. 1. Empathy and creativity don't just add to each other, they multiply each other. 2. Your own unique life story, that is a goldmine of creative fuel. 3. We can actually measure how empathy drives innovation in science and tech. And 4. This whole synergy thing has real, tangible, cash value.
Hey, if any of this sparks some new ideas or got you thinking, the absolute best way you can support what we do here is to hit that like button and subscribe. It honestly makes a huge difference and helps us keep making these analyses. So, thank you.
And I want to leave you with one final thought. Your journey, all the ups, the downs, the struggles, it's all shaped a perspective that is uniquely yours. No one else sees the world exactly like you do. So the question is, what's the innovation that only you can bring to the world? What's the idea that the world is waiting to hear from you? I would genuinely love to read your thoughts on that in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me.